Hey, She Slayers, and welcome to another episode of She Slays the Day podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lauryn Brunswick.
And I am your co-host, not Dr. Kirby Brunswick.
Great job. So today we have a date night episode.
Yep.
We have Dr. Erik Kowalke and his wife, Shannon. So I had never met Shannon before. She was delightful.
I'd never met Erik before even.
What?
I mean, through email, but.
Yeah. So you'll find out. So Erik is the creator of Sked. So here's the deal. I'm fully transparent and like, they're really cool. We had them on. They also happen to be sponsors of the podcast. But I don't know if they would have sucked, we would have had to like bury it. But I knew he wasn't going to suck because I've done trainings before and
a dynamic speaker.
Holy moly.
So much energy.
So how?
When you hear their story, you see that it's not like he just got passionate and is working hard on this thing. Like their entire story as a couple is, I can't believe there are enough hours in the day to do the things they've done. Both of them, not just the businesses, but like their family and how they do everything is inspiring and also a little bit exhausting.
I was tired, but like,
I just can't imagine.
But I mean, I'm also currently 36 and like, I don't know how old they are, but like, I feel like when they were seeing like 1,000 people a week, he was probably younger than 36, right?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's why I'm sure I totally could have done that. No, I could not have. But we are just getting back from our trip to Asheville.
So fun.
Yeah.
I mean, not our typical trip. So like,
I mean, I had fun for sure, but like we all kind of left going like, okay, check.
Yeah. I mean, I think we try to do a diversity of things. So we went with another couple, and she, the wife, is super into hiking. Both of them are, but she is a planner, and she found all these great hikes for us to do, and pushed not what we couldn't handle, but more hiking than I would have planned myself.
But by day 3, so we did 2 full days of hiking. Well, not full days. In her mind, not 2 full days.
Full enough for me.
Right. In day 3, though, I really wanted to go to that Chimney Rock, but we just didn't have the time. So yeah. I think I was starting to understand the appeal of hiking. Mm-hmm. And then we went into a city and it was kind of like, oh, this is just...
Well, we picked the wrong first city to go into because none of us really enjoyed it. But Asheville was nice.
Yeah. If you like beer. Mm-hmm. A lot of beer.
Lot of breweries. I'm not a huge fan of beer, but I'm okay with it.
But well, we were keto for like 2 years.
The settings were nice. It was fun to just chill and very pup-friendly town, Asheville.
I feel like every time we go to a big town, though, I'm just like, wow, people bring their dogs here, huh? Like, so we went to the Biltmore, which is the largest privately owned home in the country. So like, what is that like? Because the White House is bigger or what?
No, just in the country because like, I don't know if you'd call it privately owned, but like the House of Saud, like the Saudi family owns, like they are the rulers of the nation and they also own tons of the property and their palaces are huger. So I don't know if the nation owns those or if...
Like in the U.S.?
No, I said in the U.S. was the qualification for...
Oh, no, I wasn't using that as the qualification. I was using privately owned.
Yeah, because government buildings might be bigger or some palace or something.
Well... Anyways, it was a little overdone.
It's a 174,000 square foot house.
Mm-hmm.
It was amazing.
It was very, very cool.
But we could not get over the fact that like after building, it was finished in like 1896. And by like 1930, they had opened it to like public tours and it wasn't being like privately lived in exclusively anymore.
Oh, you know who messaged me? So Dr. Tamara McIntyre messaged me and said like, oh, weren't some of the green books written there? Like, didn't BJ go there to write green books? And I'm like, say what?
Crazy.
So if you are listening to this and you have ever heard that, so Biltmore in Asheville, apparently, I don't know, BJ went there to like write stuff.
Is he like a friend of the Vanderbilts?
Oh, I hope so.
That'd be awesome.
Where was the chiropractic room? Vanderbilts.
It's probably in one of the 400 rooms we didn't get to see.
Yeah.
You get an exclusive, like an extensive tour, but you just go like, okay, well, we saw 30 rooms and this place must have like 300.
I just feel like there's just so much to that story that was not said, which it makes sense. They're not just going to like, it's not like this is a spill the tea kind of tour, but I want a spill the tea kind of tour.
I might need to find a book or two.
Please do. Oh, speaking of spill the tea, that sign, I got an update this morning. So, okay. So first of all, if you are not on the weekly sleigh list, you should do that. So that is a free email that goes out every week. And they're just funny, inspirational, thoughtful, sometimes purposeless, but like just except for making you laugh, little stories.
Mm-hmm.
So those go out every week. It's completely free. It's just an email. So you should sign up for that. We'll have that in the show notes. But so if you are a She Slay reader or a weekly Slay reader, you know what we're talking about. For those that don't, there is a neighbor of ours who put up this sign like a week and a half ago saying, you owe me $24,000, you mofo, for everything you've done so far.
Yep. And we were just baffled by it and trying to figure out what it means. But now there's new stuff on the sign.
And now it's up to 44,000.
Mm-hmm.
And it also says like, don't worry about the cops.
And it called him a thief too.
Yeah.
Whoever the mofo is.
Okay. So we have one of those like busybody neighbors who's like on city council, nice guy, but like he's the guy who knows stuff. And so I saw him this morning and I was like, and he lives right next door to this guy. So I was like, what's the deal?
What's the deal?
What's the deal with this guy?
mofo?
So it sounds like the guy has a past.
Okay.
Definitely in the past, you know, but like used to just not run in the greatest crowds. And that like drug use in the past or whatever may have sparked quite a bit of paranoia.
Oh.
So like our neighbor, not the guy with the sign, said like, I don't know, like maybe it's totally justified. Like maybe because of like maybe he has had people break in, but like he said, like so conversations I have with him, it feels like there is a lot of paranoia. Like asked him to help install like this metal wall so people can't get in the house, like at the back door.
Jesus.
So yeah. So it sounds like we might have somebody with a little bit of mental health but also just has been like dealt a rough hand. And so I don't know. So I'm like, are people actually breaking in?
Yeah, like there's different concerns there as a community member and parent of like, well, if there's people breaking in now, like we need to be concerned about that.
Yeah, but it sounded like if they were breaking in, they're breaking into him specifically because they have beef with him.
Okay.
So like, I think I freaking don't know if we need to move out of the city, I guess. We're in the city. Oh, these 8,000 people are too much. Okay. What else do we have to say?
We got to talk about, I mean, we described a little bit about them. You'll learn so much more about them in the episode. So I think it's easier for people to just kind of get into it. Do you want to read the bio?
Yeah. Okay. So they're a family of 8 and they love travel and creating experiences for their kids. They built their practice as a startup in 2011 to now seeing over 1,800 visits a week with 7 doctors and 2 locations. 1,800 visits a week.
Wow.
Their product is a Lifetime Family Wellness, and they're on a mission to make chiropractic care convenient and possible for everyone. So they're great. She's not a chiropractor, but like she's what got him into chiropractic. Like she's really one of those non-chiro spirits that like is doing stuff for the profession without the degree.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying like adjusting.
Yeah.
So they're great. So I don't know. We'll pray and it seems weird to do a shout out to our sponsor Sked right now. So
well, I was just going to say it's very humble that like when you say like write a bio about you mentioned like your chiropractic mission, and they didn't even mention that they created Sked, which is an amazing app. And we brush against it a little bit, but like you've heard enough of us.
I think just this, like Kirby said, the story of how Sked came to be was not what I thought. Like I thought that, I don't know, he had free time and he's like, I want to make more money because like I'm I'd be like that. I want a side hustle. I want to do this thing. And so like, I'm going to create a product that chiropractors are going to like pay me for. And that is not how it started at all. Like very much like, how do I organize these 1,000 people a week type of thing. So yeah, it makes sense why the product is what it is, because it's like, oh yeah, this like solved a problem you had.
Yeah. And then just shared it with everyone and it grew fairly organically. So
let's pray.
All right, let us pray. Dear God, thank you for the opportunity to talk to amazing people like this and to see how relationships and business and attitudes in life can create such amazing things and grow and help people. Help us all to be inspired by and not comparative to amazing people like this, so that we can raise our game and our kindness, and not wallow in our self worry that we aren't as energetic or as good. Help us to be patient and kind with each other and always lift each other up. In your name we pray.
Amen.
Amen.
All right. Here is our conversation with Dr. Erik Kowalke and his wife, Shannon. Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Okay. So do you guys know what your Enneagram is? Sorry, it's what I like knowing. Otherwise I spend the entire time. Oh, they're looking at each other. They have no idea.
We kind of like dabbled, like we're like, but we did it one time. It was a couple years ago. We've done so many different strength finders. We kind of know who we are, so we try not to target and funnel ourselves into just those one things. But
so do you have like one, like, because you own businesses with lots of people, so I know that do you have a personality profile that you prefer besides, like, do you do strength finder? Like
we use
We did strength finder.
Yep. But for like hiring to put the right person in the right role, we use ProScans, which Chiro Matchmakers does.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, is that how you hire associates, is through Chiro Matchmakers?
One associate we've hired through Chiro Matchmakers, but we use
the assessment.
We use the assessment for all employees across all companies.
Okay.
Cool. There's a new one to learn.
So many different ones.
But I think she's talking specifically to us.
Yeah.
Oh, like you and me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was yours again?
So it's and I haven't spent a ton of time going into strength finders or Enneagram stuff. They could be very similar. But the ProScan is great because it tells you your level of dominance. It tells you your introversion, extroversion. It tells you your conformity, low conformity. And it tells you your pace and patience. So between those four categories, then it tells you your energy style. Like, are you a thruster where you like to start projects, but you don't really finish them and you'll have 15 going at the same time? Or are you like more allegiant supportive where you want somebody else to start it, but you'll finish it? And then your energy level, which is super important. So it goes up to like a level 7 or an 8, which is your capacity to just move, like constantly be doing things. So all of those tell us something different, and the combination of all of those tell you kind of who you're dealing with. But then it also, the way they ask the questions to formulate the end, like this is the assessment, tells you how somebody appears on the outside, but how they really are on the inside, and then how they act under stress, which is very interesting. So then I know if somebody's low dominance naturally, but under stress they're high dominance. Then under stress they like freak out and they're very hard to work with. It's like, so you can kind of tell who you're dealing with.
But it also prevents, how many times have you have somebody interviewed really well for you and you're like, oh my gosh, this person's gonna be amazing, and then 30 days later you're like, what happened?
Where'd that person go?
Because they brought this high energy, but that really wasn't their true self. That was their interview self, so they're not representing their true self, and then they're in a role that they interviewed for, like maybe front desk, but they really should be back office or exam because they do better one-on-one, and they're exhausted, but they're trying to keep this, it's not their true self. So that one's been really helpful, game changer for our businesses and our personal like helpers and things like that. But Erik is all driver, competition, visionary, and I am very high on adaptability, and I'm everything with managing chaos. I love a lot of things going on. I love having flexibility. So obviously that is kind of a magical combination.
So
for sure.
I'm an Enneagram 3, which is competition, achiever, like starting multiple projects, like entrepreneur, likes to be on stage. And I tend to make the mistake of going like diagnosing other people as like, oh, you're a 3, just like me. But like I did that to Ebel, and he was like, nope, not a 3. What is he, a 7?
I think he's a 7.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no, we're the same. And he's like, nope, homie, you care about other people's opinions so much more than I do. And I was like, you don't care? And he's like, I don't give a fuck. And I was like,
I think I'm a 7 wing something, and he was an 8 wing something.
Okay.
Right? I can't remember. It's been a while, but we haven't really we only just did the quiz, and then our team was more into it. This was a while ago when it was first. Yeah. So we haven't like really read any of the books or anything like that. But I believe this on our Monday board, it says he was an 8 and I was a 7. I just checked. So.
But if you had a choice, I would just go drive around on a tractor all day by myself and not talk to anybody.
Well, you sure surrounded yourself with a lot of people.
Are you introverted? I don't get to do that very often, but I very much enjoy it.
Okay, so how long have you two been married?
It'll be 17 years.
17.
Oh, wow.
This November.
And Shannon, you're not a chiropractor, or you are? Mm-hmm. No. Okay. No, so how did you guys meet?
He was the bartender and I was the waitress.
Oh my gosh! Cute. Like pre-chiropractic school, or
yes.
He was a milk drinking, Velveeta cheese eating, pharmaceutical box underneath his bed engineer. When I met him, and I had my own chiropractic testimony. My oldest sister was married to a chiropractor, and he helped my body heal of migraines. And so I was, as a young 20-year-old, I was walking through like this whole natural health journey and kind of being introduced to chiropractic and like health, just in wellness in general. So when we were dating, I see all this stuff underneath his bed because his mom worked in the hospital. And she'd always be sending him all these different meds and stuff. And I'd be like, that's killing your liver. That's killing your kidney. And then it was just like, Erik had this really cool quote on his computer when he was an engineer, when he was in engineering school, that said that I forget exactly the quote, but it was like, I was made to help people heal or something like that. Or I believe it was just something really unique, and it didn't really align with engineering, but I could get a little glimpse into his heart. Like he wanted to make a difference and like help people. And it was something, I don't know, maybe it was like, I want to make a difference or something like that. I can't remember the exact quote, but I remember when he told me. So then he went and observed in my brother-in-law's clinic and as an engineer. And then like within 30 days, he called me. He was like, Shan, I'm going to go to be a chiropractor. And I thought he was just on like the high of like the light bulb going off. He's understanding this new way of health and how the body heals. So I was like, yeah, sure you are. I was like, just get under chiropractic care and this will kind of fade away. And he was like, that quote I always had on my desk. I feel like this is kind of like, and it was just like a deep call.
That's right, I forgot.
And so it never faded. And he's just been on fire since, and it's been really exciting to watch. So I watched this bartender engineer have like a 180 like Holy Spirit encounter, and then he just went sold out, and now he's like purpose driven, like on fire, and there's nothing that can get in his way. And so it's been an exciting journey to just see that.
That's amazing.
So then did you keep waitressing while you were in chiropractic school, Erik, or?
So yeah, going into chiropractic school, I was definitely different than everybody else because I was like in an engineering career. So
you were an engineer.
Yeah, I was a mechanical engineer. Yeah, we met when I was in my last semester of engineering school. And then I graduated, moved to New York, and I was working on diesel engines. I was a diesel piston engineer. So I had a pretty great job. Benefits, like stock matching. Yeah. Vacation time, like all this stuff. My parents were like, okay, he made it. Thank goodness. And then like 4 months into the job, I'm like, hey, I'm actually going to quit and go to chiropractic school. And they're like, my mom started crying, hung up the phone. My dad called me back and he's like, how could you do that to your mother?
He did it on Mother's Day.
I did it on Mother's Day.
About it, and she was like,
your mother.
So yeah, that's. Also, when I went to chiropractic school, it was like, okay, so then we spent a year. I decided I was going to go to chiropractic school. We got married that November, and we spent till that next June. I was accepted at Life, and we needed to pay off debt because I thought I was so rich as an engineer, and I just bought tons of stuff, and then realized, after taxes, I actually don't have very much money. I spent way more than I made.
Taxes will always get you.
So
you made a lot of money. This is how much you have, and you're like, no, I bet I don't. I don't. I don't have $40,000 in the bank right now. What do you mean? I profited that.
This paycheck must be wrong. Yeah. So I was bartending at night. I was an engineer by day, and then I was taking night classes for biology and like all the stuff so I could get into life. We did that till June, and then we moved there. So I worked as an engineer part-time in chiropractic school doing engineering stuff on the other side of Atlanta.
Oh my gosh. So were you doing full-time school though?
Oh yeah. I was doing accelerated school actually, so I could peak out of state for the last 2 quarters. So I would just cram all my classes into blocks so that, I would have a day where I would go 7 to 7, and then the next day I wouldn't have to be there till 2, so that I'd go work from 7 to noon and drive back to school or something. So I just blocked it all, so I had all my classes straight all together so that I could go work as much as I could.
So were you were you the kind of student that was focused on getting an A, or it was like C's get degrees, C's for like?
I actually did pretty good. I think I got like a 3.6 or 7.
You graduated like summa cum laude or whatever.
I'm just wondering when you studied. I'm like, okay, so that's when I would be studying.
Naturally smart. I swear he has like a photogenic memory. I swear.
No, I don't.
You're very smart.
School
is not hard for him.
But it was so different than engineering school. Like engineering school was way harder because you never knew what you were going to get tested on. Like chiropractic school, they're like, we're going to test you on the nerves. It's like, okay, well, I mean, I know, I just have to memorize it all, Engineering, it's like, here's a problem that you've never seen before in your life, and you have to use your knowledge to solve it. And it's like, oh my gosh, you never get the right answer. It's just who gets the most partial credit for like thinking about it the right way,
Do you still remember much of that stuff from school though?
Yeah, actually, I use it all the time. I don't know, like when doing the container home stuff, like.
Oh, you mean engineering or chiropractic?
Chiropractic.
Yeah.
Well,
no, I don't.
Okay. I was like, because I was like, okay, like that student that was like, yep, memorized. I had my cards and this, and then I feel like as soon as boards were over, I was
down.
That's that one.
Are both of you chiropractors?
No, I'm not. My background is in finance and marketing. So I worked as a corporate. We met through a mutual friend.
I was going to say, which story are you going to tell? Tell the nice one.
The nice one is a girl I went to high school with ended up being her roommate in college. And then when she was coming from her undergrad up to chiropractic school, it was in Minneapolis, and that's where I was going to school. So she said, you two should meet.
Well, I was getting out. I was like a month before chiropractic school, my boyfriend of like 3.5 years broke up with me and like cheated on me. And so the real thing is she was like, there's this really cute, smart guy that would be a good, what's it called? A fling?
Yeah.
A rebound. Apparently I am terrible at rebounds.
That's so funny.
So no, it was one of those things where, I actually thought, because you're in chiropractic school and the chiropractors are like pairing up. And I was like, I'm such like am I doing this right type of thing? And I'm like, well, if I really am into chiropractic, should I be falling in love with a chiropractor? And thank God for student loans and debt. And like, honestly, like business wise, now I joke that like,
because they
strategic move.
Yeah, they don't teach you shit about business in chiropractic school. So when we started, I was like, well, I understand the business side at least. So
that's awesome.
No, it was great because like right as I was graduating, there was a small clinic, very small clinic that was for sale near his hometown. And so we went and, like our business, I'd had like 5 minutes of business class and they're like talking about a P&L. And I'm like, I know what that stands for. Yeah. And so when we went to like analyze this clinic to see like if the price she was asking was worth it, I was like, so do you have like a P&L? And she goes like, no, because they had only been open 3 years. We've changed names twice and you don't need to file taxes. Oh, because I asked for a tax return. She's like, no, you don't need to file taxes if you changed your name. So I don't have a tax return for the last 2 years. And that's where I was like, do you have like a QuickBooks, anything? And so she like grabbed a piece of random scratch paper and started like writing down like, this is my rent and this is how much. And Kirby's just like, alarm. And I'm like, all decisions from my gut. And we walk out and I'm like, that's it. That's the one. We're going to buy it. And he's like, I don't think this is a good idea.
Well, once we saw the structure of the deal, what she wanted for the actual business was actually pretty much the value of the equipment. So I was like, okay, I'm fine with that. But we had to write the contract very specifically that we were buying the patient list and the equipment, and we are not responsible for any debts incurred by the former business name, which worked out because we ended up like someone tried to hound us for like a $1,500 debt that she skipped town on. We were like, nope, that's not our business.
Yeah. So you actually bought it.
We did.
Yeah.
So when did you get married? Were you married through chiropractic school?
No. So let's see. I graduated from Northwestern in 2010. Did you ever? You're being in Michigan. Like, did you hear about the Wisconsin stuff that they pulled with like them making their own Part 4 boards?
No.
So you went to Northwestern?
What?
Northwestern?
Yeah. Yeah. I made a very educated choice.
Well, my brother-in-law is named Kirby, and he also graduated from Northwestern. So there you go.
Oh, God, cool.
Probably both. I'm assuming named after Kirby Puckett. Is that what he's named after, or is he older?
I don't know.
His last name is Perot, Dr. Kirby Perot. So maybe
look him up.
He's Canadian.
Yeah, Kirby was supposed to be Ben.
Yep, I was either going to be Ben or Josh, and then after a very long labor, my dad pulled a fast one and said he was a big Kirby Puckett fan, baseball player. He said, "Can I name him Kirby?" And my mom said, "I guess so. I don't care."
That's hilarious.
I love the name. It's great.
So Wisconsin was going to be starting in 2011 their own Part 4 board. So even if you passed all of your boards, in order to get a Wisconsin license, you had to go do and sit with like this like 50, 60 some year old dude who practices in Wisconsin, and they're gonna like tell you what tests to do. And
basically just protectionism for existing chiropractors.
Right? Yeah.
So everybody knew it was going to be a nightmare to get your Wisconsin license. So Northwestern basically was like, as long as you have all of your adjustments in, we are going to, because there was like one final jurisprudence test in December that you weren't going to have to do this, like sit down for this insane, stupid test. But because of like, you had to like apply X number of days, basically they said like, all right, who is thinking about practicing in Wisconsin? And we're like, me. And they're like, okay, well, you're going to graduate 3 weeks early so you can sit for this test. And so like, if you didn't pass, like if I didn't pass this jurisprudence test in December, it was going to delay. Like, so talk about just like high stress where you're like, we were buying this practice. Yep. It was.
So where are you now? You live in Wisconsin?
Still like north.
Like Rice Lake and Cumberland.
Really? So I grew up in Arbor Vitae.
Where the hell is that?
By Minocqua.
You know where Minocqua is?
Yeah. So kind of central northeasty.
Yes. That's where I grew up.
Oh,
that's awesome.
Small town.
Yeah.
Small town, Wisconsin.
How far is that from you guys?
Probably an hour 45.
Wisconsin. I'm like, Wisconsinites do the same Michigan hand thing, except like
just flip the hand.
So when you graduated then, did you guys start your practice right away?
Yep. He graduated in March. We had 2 babies. They were 1 and 3. And we opened up August 1st.
And Shannon, how involved were you in the practice?
Very. So I was,
she did everything. I just adjusted.
We first got married. This is funny. When we first got married, I told him, just so you know, I'll never be a stay-at-home wife, and I really want to adopt. And, and I really was like adamant that I was going to do my background is in speech and language pathology. So as we were dating, we'd be like, you could be the chiropractor and I'll have my own speech and therapy clinic next to you, and I can refer people to you because that's going to help and blah blah blah. That was our plan. But then as we got immersed in this and we realized that they don't really teach you much in chiropractic school, and how could one person build a company and a business? Mm-hmm. I just felt like with kids and everything like that, like we would just be going off in different directions. Yeah. And God kind of gave me this vision of like, everything is going to kind of fall through the cracks. So if you could unite and really push forward and do it together. So I started right early on in chiropractic school. I love chiropractic. Like I said, I have my own chiropractic testimony. 5 of my siblings are chiropractors.
Oh my God.
Home birthing hippies that just love natural health and wellness. So I would go to all these conferences and learn everything I could and do all this training through different chiropractic organizations. But
Shannon, how come you didn't become a chiropractor?
That's what I remember at campus. So when I go to these things, everybody would say, well, you're going to end up divorced because the chiropractic divorce rate is like 80% at
Jesus.
And this was like normal, like normal conversation. I was like, really? I was like, it wasn't my calling, really. I love chiropractic. I love like the whole thing about it. But I never felt that deep calling, like I had to become a chiropractor. So I never did. So we started in together. I was basically his CA, his HR, everything. And we opened up this tiny little chiropractic office. And it was 1,300 square feet, and it had 3 adjusting rooms and 1.5 exam rooms, and it was him and I. And then eventually, when we reached like 500 or so a week, we hired another team member.
You were doing 500 a week by yourself, Erik?
I got to 1,000.
By
1,000 and like 30.
In a 1,300 square foot clinic with 2 team members and 3 children.
Oh man!
But we loved it. Like
profitable days,
right?
Yes.
We were open 5 hour. I had 5-hour adjusting shifts, and so I'd open the door 15 minutes before to try to get as many people in, and then I never left the adjusting room till it was 2 to 7. So I'd get in the adjusting room at 1:40, 1:45, and I wouldn't leave till 7:30, and then I'd go directly into, the whole waiting room would be our group report of findings for that night. So at 7:30, the group report of findings would start, and I'd go right through that till like 9, because at the time it was like an hour and a half long. So from 1:45 to 9, I couldn't go to the bathroom or anything, because we had one little bathroom that like came out into the waiting room, and there were so many people there that I would be behind the whole shift if I went into the bathroom.
Okay, but why didn't you hire earlier?
Because we just didn't have the right. We were so busy in our practice that we just didn't have time to work on our business, really. And so I love motherhood. I fell in love with motherhood early on, and he never said no.
You have a 1 and 3-year-old at this point too, right?
Yeah, and I'm pregnant. I'm 7
months. We had 3 or 4 by that point.
No, we had our 3rd baby 7 months into practice, opening our business, our 3rd. And so I'm painting and stuff, very pregnant, like I just remember these days, but we lived 1 mile from our clinic, so it worked out perfect because those split shifts. I could just go home, nap and nurse the baby, and and then come back. So it was just, those are like treasured memories, because our kids were raised in our clinic. I remember like calling billing insurance, and they're like, they make a noise, they'd be like, ah, and they'd be like, I'm sorry, and you have to like start the whole process over. It's like, like here's a basket of like. I remember one time I handed my daughter these, she kept wanting these like little basket of like push pins, and I'm like, here, have the push pins. Like, this is not safe.
Got pierced ears now.
So we got smarter, and we back then we did 5 to 7 group doctors report a week for like years, and we loved it. So I just say we got smarter.
It was just so much fun. I mean, we every week was a record week, literally for 3.5 years, and just had awesome tests. Well, we didn't really have the space. Like, this was plain film x-ray too. So we had a little dark room in the back.
Oh my God.
Processing x-rays. I'd have to mark them with a Gonset ruler with and then take pictures of them with this little digital camera and go plug it in the computer and like upload all the x-rays to get them into the EHR every night. I mean, it was so manual.
Yes.
I am exhausted hearing this story. Hi friends, I wanted to take a quick break from the episode to make sure you all know about the cool stuff we have happening over on Patreon. This is a platform where I can offer you extra content, behind the scenes interviews, quick trainings, and exclusive trainings answering your exact question live, back to back with me. It's a way for me to more directly interact with you and post some fun things that would never be in the normal weekly episodes. To check out what we're doing and to sign up, click the link in the show notes. Hey, She Slayers. I just wanted to take a moment to ask you, have you heard of PX? I don't know. Have I mentioned them before? So they're practically everywhere these days, and I am so excited to have them as a sponsor on our show because they are on a mission that I can seriously get behind. So Dr. Tony and his team have designed a pediatric, prenatal, and family chiropractic training program that has online and live event training opportunities to learn step-by-step the science, clinical protocols, and business systems behind building a thriving pediatric and family chiropractic practice. Now, here's what's extra cool. It doesn't matter if you're a student, startup, or practicing chiropractor. I mean, I am a member and I've been in practice for over 12 years now. Each and every bit of their training is applicable to you and where you're at. I've been a part of PX for a while now, and I can say that there's no one better in the space to lead you and to lead this profession than Dr. Tony and his team. If you want to take your practice to the next level in serving more kiddos and families in your community, then you must check out PX. I will drop a link in the show notes so you can head over to thepediatricexperience.com and let them know She Slays the Podcast sent you there for a special little bonus. I'd like to take a moment to thank one of our primary sponsors of the podcast, Insight CLA. The Insight tech moves the message off the spine and into the nervous system, where the magic of the adjustments can be measured and tracked. Everyone from newborns to seniors are being scanned in my practice and in thousands of other practices like ours, so they can be examined and inspired to choose chiropractic care. It's like an instant referral machine because the scans are so visible and informative. Like, what patient wouldn't want to know how their nervous system is performing? The staff at CLA are ready to take care of you and answer any questions you may have. They also have an incredible online academy that can help train everyone in the office and help them to feel confident on how to get perfect scans and how to interpret the results. We have been using the Insight technology in our clinics for over 7 years now, and it is a complete game changer for conversion, retention, and patient education. Click the link below in the show notes as She Slays listeners get preferred pricing and hundreds of dollars off their purchase. Hey, She Slayers. When I first started practice, I thought I needed to dress a certain way for patients to trust me, and I spent hours trying to design communication and marketing materials that worked. After 12 years of practice, here's a couple things I've learned. 1, I don't have to wear dress pants and button-ups for a patient to take me seriously. And 2, why recreate the wheel when a design professional has already done all the work for me? Well Aligned offers solutions in both of these categories. They have the coolest and most comfy chiropractic shirts that will showcase your personality, as well as beautifully designed communication and marketing tools to help drive new patients, get more referrals, and gain better retention in your practice. From the best chiropractic apparel to modern patient education materials, Well Aligned has you covered. All She Slayers get 10% off plus free shipping on orders of $75 or more with promo code SheSlays. Visit www.wellaligned.com to save. So, like, obviously very successful right out of the gate. Looking back, why do you think you had that success? Because like it feels like it was like it feels like you didn't have to market. When I say like work for it, like you were working your ass off, but like not in the same way.
If you're adjusting that much, I can't imagine you have time to be out pounding the pavement. And
from the beginning, so we did every event in our community from we moved there in March. He graduated in March and we moved to West Michigan. So April, May, June, July, we were at every single community event leading up to that. Like every trunk or treat and harvest or community festival and, networking like crazy. He was going door to door in a suit, like with door hangers. And we just set up screening booths at every single event we could. Sometimes we'd divide and conquer. I would be at one in the morning and then he would be at one. And then he would go set up a third one for me. So, because I was leaving with the babies to go to that next one. So we hustled and we loved it. And because we knew at that point, it was like, what are we going to do? Failing was not an option. We have 2 children, one on the way, and we're $250,000 in debt. And we just took out a $25,000 business loan. We started super humble. Our office was $5 a square foot and we did the entire build out ourselves. So I think it just helped knowing that we didn't have this huge overhead to like, we had to meet. So, it made it a lot freer because we could just really serve the people. And we always said, let's serve the people, the money will come. Serve the people, the money will come. And so I think that was also a key thing. Just knowing that we didn't have to deal with like top of the line everything.
So I kind of want to combine what you're saying now with that 80% fucking divorce rate stat. That was so rude, but like probably true. So I feel like, and there's a question in here somewhere, so you'll have to really pay attention because I'm a wonderful host that rambles. Okay. So that was like, I feel like we came from a time of like, you hustle, like you get out of practice, you have no choice but to hustle. You know, like I wasn't seeing 1,000 a week, but like I didn't get my first associate until after I was done having babies. So like my final day, like, so today is actually our oldest birthday. She's 11. And so like, obviously you go through all the like, so like 11 years ago, yesterday was like my final shit, like the day before I went into labor. And I adjusted like 70 people that day, like 40 weeks pregnant. I know. Like, this wasn't tonal. This was not tonal. This was like, and so I hear the hustle stories. And, you know, I had a really good friend in chiropractic school whose dad was a chiropractor. And she talked about like her memories of her dad not putting her to sleep, or when he would come home, he would just sit on the couch because he was physically exhausted. And she, you know, like this was like, I don't want that. I don't want that for my family or this or that. And so I feel like we've seen this pendulum swing from like, you have to hustle, but then like that hustle can be good, but not bad, and also bad for the family, to then like this, no, hustling is bad. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. How do you start a practice without the hustle? Because if I didn't have that hustle, it wouldn't have done that. So like, where do you balance this? Like, do you agree that there's this anti-hustle culture we're seeing now? But like, I see the need for it to like help families, but then like,
okay, so let me go first.
Yeah, you go first.
The difference, I think, is if we're hustling apart or hustling together. I think what made it doable is we were hustling together. And we were doing it together. So it wasn't like I never saw her, because I was with her all day, every day. And we were all celebrating together, you know, the highs together, lows were together, things that got screwed up were together. Our kids were around. I think it would have been totally different if you would have been at home and I would have been doing all that myself, separate from you. That would have felt like I'm giving up our family in order to achieve this. That would have been a lot harder.
And I think it can be done. I think this is where you have to have clear agreements, because if you say I didn't want to be involved, and I have helped, you know, many of my female friends are on that pendulum. There's like, I just don't want to be involved. It doesn't work for our marriage. We don't work well together, whatever the reason is. I just think there has to be clear agreements. Like, okay, just so you know, there has to be some sacrifice. Like, you don't get, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think it's like you have to give the work in to get what you want, whether at least for a season, right? Like, you hustled for a period of time, knowing that this sacrifice was going to give you, now you can be here on a podcast laughing with us on your daughter's 11th birthday, and you're not having, but on the flip side of that, we've also gotten flack. Well, and then you hear chiropractors are like, well, I just really love to adjust. And I just, you know, like, they're almost like offended or insulted that you don't want to be in your clinic. And I'm like, I always tell him, I'm like, you are the most attractive when you're adjusting. It is in your purpose. Like, there is nothing more attractive than watching him go in, and just because he can, he just hops in for an hour and he's laughing and he's got this energy, and people are like, and I'm like, it is so attractive watching you do what you love, because I know that you're there because you want to be there. You know what I mean? So I think it's a pendulum thing. It's like a choice, and it's not like one way or the other. And in chiropractic, it's always like, I feel like we kind of point fingers at each other a little bit, like, and I don't like that.
No. Well, so when did you guys realize that it was kind of time to start exiting the hustle stage and step more into the like CEO and people stage?
Oh man. Well, I think we just have a heart to serve people so much that is the driving factor in everything. Like, we've never even set financial goals, and like, we've never had anything financial with our team. And it's okay if you can do it the right way. We just always felt like it would somehow, we just never wanted it to become about the money or financial versus like our mission and our heart to serve people. And so we got to I think once we hit over 1,000 and we were in 1,300 square feet, it was kind of like, okay, we can't get any farther. We can't serve any, like, this is our physical capacity.
Yeah.
So now what do we do? Like, we arrived at this location at this moment, and there was nobody, there wasn't like a party, you hit 1,000 and we're like, yay, now what do we do? Like, we did it. I thought it would be way more exciting, like, there's nobody cheering for you. It's like, we're still going home tonight, and it's like the same thing. And
we did take our first family vacation to Mexico.
Yeah, so this is the difference too. Like, when you talk about hustle, we hit 500 a week, and we celebrated by buying ourselves a Vitamix at Costco. And then we hit 1,000, and I got rid of my Galaxy S3, and I got an iPhone for the first time.
So we were plowing, paying off our debt. Like, we just were like, we just had the burden of like, I didn't want to be living in debt. So we paid off the school loans and our business loan as fast as possible. And then we felt like we could pick our head up and be like, okay, that's really.
Yeah, we were renting a home.
Yeah. And so we were then we started building a home. You can't build a home and be in your practice, and you still want to be in your community. So we're just like, we need more people. We need help. And so he got an associate, and then, we started building, and then obviously.
And he quit the first day. So he quit like in the first 2 days. Because I left for a Friday morning shift, and he probably saw, it was like a 7 to noon shift, and it was like, I don't know, 160, 180 people. And that Monday, he's like, hey, can we talk? And I was like, oh, geez, here we go. That one, like, hey, do you have a minute to talk? Like, no, you can't quit.
No, I don't want to talk to you.
Well, that's what I was going to ask is like, how do you, how do you train someone, or are you getting experienced chiropractors to come be associates? Because I would imagine coming from being a student to seeing 160 people at a shift is just like, yeah, I'd do the same thing. I'd be like, nope, I'm done.
Well,
a mix. We have.
Yeah, and it's so different now. I mean, now there's 7 of us, and we just have a training curriculum and a rhythm, and like, each doc is seeing a few hundred. It's not like somebody's seeing 1,000 anymore by themselves. But there was a time when once I got Dr. Andy and Dr. Mark, they were seeing 500-600, and Dr. John, they were seeing 500-600 by themselves. But it's so like, if you're in our office, it feels like, oh, this is like totally chill. Like, there's times when there's like nobody in here, and you guys are seeing 1,500 people a week. It doesn't feel chaotic. It's just, I think that's what we got really good at, is just efficiency. Like, okay, how do we make this better? Every week was like, okay, there's got to be a better way to do this. And, how do we not process plain film x-rays anymore? There's got to be a better solution out there, And so we just keep implementing better solutions and
creating. And then he told me we were on our 5th kid. I was about to give birth. I was due August 27th. She was born on her actual due date, which is rare. And he tells me August 1st that he's going to launch another business.
So is that when Sked?
8 team members for good, like 8 team members at once, like 3 left on maternity leave the same time as me. And I'm looking at him like, no, not like, save that idea for another day. Not right now. Like, Sked is, he wanted to launch this. He was like, we have to create a scheduling solution. We cannot physically call. The phone's ringing. The voicemails are at lunch. And I'm like, not right now. And he still plows ahead anyway.
I'm like, okay, well, it's not going to be a business. It's not going to be like a whole business. I'm just going to like, I got a guy. He's going to make this thing work for us. Even if it just works for us, it's going to be awesome. And so in my mind, I would like kind of convince myself that it wasn't really going to be a business. It was because back then you could still kind of.
It was a business solution. It was a solution for your business.
Yeah, like you could go into Staples and like buy software off the shelf and you own it and like go install it on your computer. Like that was still a thing. So I was like, well, I'm just going to create the same thing where you could just buy Sked and just install it on your computer and let it run, and it will do what it needs to do.
20 days before our 5th child was born.
So did you have like a contact, like a software engineer or something that you knew, or did you go like, I have this idea, I'm going to go find engineers?
So I had an idea just out of, man, how cool would it be if we had an app that, and I would just say this to like families that are coming in to get adjusted. I'm like, how cool would it be if you had an app? Every time they're like, is Johnny supposed to come next week, or is he only on once a week? And did Will get adjusted last week? And I'm like, oh my gosh, if you ask me one more time, I'm like, I don't know.
There's
like,
look at people here.
I'm like, you don't know, I don't know. Like, what did I even tell you they're supposed to be here? Like, somebody's got to remember this. So I'm like, how good it would be if you had an app and you could just see all that. And then if you wanted to come at 4 instead of 3, you just move your appointment. It just works. And everybody's like, that'd be awesome.
What year is this? then that this
is 2015.
No, it was, yeah, it was it.
This is 2015. And so one of the guys that I told that to was like, well, my brother's a developer. He could probably help you. I was like, cool, let's call him up. And so I met with him and he came in the office and I told him what I wanted to do. And he spent like 4 hours on our computers, like hacking into everything. And he's like, I think we can do it. And I was like, cool, let's do it.
Sounds easy.
Oh my God. So there wasn't there competition doing or like trying to do something like that? No.
There was one that in the chiropractic world that we heard of.
Oh yeah, they did
Solution Reach. It was it. Yeah.
Solution Reach, maybe Zinging at the time. They did two-way
But
messaging.
they were really focused on just texting.
Correct.
Right.
So if you wanted to change your appointment, they would text you back. So I'm like, well, that just takes my team member
still needed
from the phone to like managing this two-way texting platform. It doesn't free them up at all.
No. Yeah. And so that makes sense that it was like there's a need for like people to get in and move their own stuff. So you don't, because like, okay, well, thank you for an ability to text my patient, but like that still requires a CA. And
where people, you have 2 big kids, right? It's like, if you think of yourself, like I'm your ideal client. I have many kids under care. One's at soccer that got canceled, that got moved. I'm like, I need to be able to move my kids' appointments around easily without having to call every single time. It's annoying. It's annoying to me to have to call. It
freaking snowed today. It was 95 degrees on Saturday and it snowed and it canceled everything.
So when did you start like being like, hey, Kairos, I have this thing like that you can buy if you want? Was that like September 1st?
Oh gosh. So this is so funny because people come to me all the time. They're like, hey, I have an idea to start an app. And I'm like, great. If you had, let me just give you a little bit about what it takes to do it. I mean,
it's like when people come to me and say like, I want to start a podcast. And I'm like, all right, listen, I'm going to come across really negative here. Exactly. I love the podcast. I love it. I don't regret it, but
it is so hard.
And if I would have known like what it took to do it, like what I was actually doing, I probably wouldn't have started it if I would have known at the time. Like it just is so, I mean, it's just a whole nother thing. So I realized that I was actually creating a company like 9 months into development, like in 2016.
So officially it launched in 2016 just to our sphere of influence and was like, hey, this is working really well in our office. Do you want to try it too, kind of thing. And then it went full-fledged. And
2017 is when it was like official, we have products that you could purchase.
So where was your balance? So like, as you're doing that, like you seem like a guy who kind of goes like all in. When you were like getting ready for the launch, were you like, okay, I need to pull back from the clinic because I now am like 30 hours a week on promotion, sales, building a sales team?
You were scaling back by then. I think we had two associates, maybe 3. And then it was a lot of meetings.
I mean, God just orchestrated the right people in the right place at the right time to help us. Like one of our CAs, you know, her husband was moving from the office, so she was moving to Ohio, and we're like, well, do you want to work for Sked? You know, she's still one of our most amazing team members at Sked.
Your schedule.
Yeah, but I think the right people just came in to help me in the right areas that I needed to. Because the scariest part is you're developing something and these guys are building it and I have no idea what they're doing. Like, I can't fix it if it breaks. I don't even know like where it is. It's like stored up there or something. Like it's stored in a computer somewhere. I'm like, I just paid you how much money? And I can't pick it up and be like, oh, I bought this thing. You know, it's like, I hope it works. And these guys don't like go AWOL on me or something. You know, and some did. It was like, it was crazy things happen in a series of events. So I think I just took it like one step at a time. And it was a solution that was so needed that if I just told them what it was, they're like, I didn't even know that existed. I needed my practice. Still, like last year, every chiropractor that we talked to that didn't use Sked, 80% of them started using Sked. Because they're like, how come I didn't even know this existed before? You know? And still, we're just learning. I'm like, I don't have a sales and marketing degree. So it's like, I probably could be doing way more to reach more people, but it's just kind of growing organically as we can talk about it.
So correct me if I'm wrong here. So I was am a chiropractor. I was doing chiropractic solely, but like I felt like there was something I don't want to say missing, but absolutely, like there was more that I was being pulled to do. And that's kind of how the podcast started. For you, it feels like you didn't choose, like you were finding a solution for your practice, and your heart was still very much in like your patients and your practice, not like helping the greater good. Well, so like, how did that kind of transpire where you were like, well, did you miss being in practice? Because now you're like helping the profession. You're like, I didn't really choose to do this to help the profession. I did this to help my patients.
It kind of evolved into both.
Well, he was also coaching and mentoring lots of students in chiropractic. He'd fly and speak at conferences, and he would, through different, so I think he was helping people and, inspiring people in that way. But yeah, I think Sked helped him scale our clinic tenfold, because with Sked, he didn't know how to code, right? So you talk about that, like just how, and he wouldn't know sales and marketing, like you have, at least financial and marketing. That's an area that neither of us were really great in. So we had to hire on people that were experts in those things. And then we're like, wow, that was so much better. Like they are actually made to do that, designed to do that, and they have the experience. So let's do that in our clinic too. And we're still doing that. The things that we're learning through Sked, like a sales and marketing team, all these different things that you're learning through that company just by sheer force, and then it's like, wow, let's transfer that into our chiropractic clinic. And then we also use those same principles in our home, then, similar things that we bring back and teach our children. And that's the beauty of, I think, being in this life that we get to live, right? I think you're walking in your soul purpose. I think you had that calling, and you were just like, and you are, look at you, like you're just an inspiration. And I think you can get people to move and take action because that was inside of you, and you just answered that call. And I think it's a beautiful thing when you actually take that little nudge of that whisper on your heart, and you actually do it and bring it into a call to action, because it's not easy, and everybody wants to do it, but it's very hard, and you can still find so much joy. I think just watching who you are, I think a lot of people would want to duplicate that, but I think it's just knit in you, and you express that so well. So
I'm getting awkward.
Lauren gets very uncomfortable when people compliment her.
It's funny because it's like my life's purpose to get validation, and then when it's in front of me, I'm like, I have to go to the bathroom. Oh, you're saying nice things. Okay, so the wheels got to fall off like you guys, 6 kids, 2 crazy businesses, successful. What have you guys had to learn the hard way in your marriage to put it first? Because you've been married 17 years. Yeah. You're in the 20%. God, that stats got to be so good. I'm really mad about it. Well, I think it's part of the reason we started, though. Honestly, the reason that stat triggers me so much is it's kind of the purpose of why we started the course we just ran, the Multi-Passionate Chiropreneur. Because like I look at that stat and I go, like, previous versions of chiropractic we were shown was like you work 6 days a week. He does that. She raises the kids, and then she gets resentful because he's not raising the kids and doesn't have time for her, not putting the marriage. And we have all these women in the profession who are like, shit, I'm the one who's having the kids. And we do see, I don't see the divorce rate anymore, but I see women leaving chiropractic. Because they're like, I'm not going to. And so that's why it triggers me. Don't embarrass me.
I love it. I love that you're a voice. I think especially for women, because for me, I had the gift of, I didn't have to be the doctor. And I think, so I was able to separate. I could be HR, I could be CA, I could be front desk. I love training up a team and changing somebody that was like not very confident. And all of a sudden she sold up for chiropractic, becomes a leader in our team, and she could educate and teach on chiropractic better than most chiropractors. I mean, that would just fuel me. So, I mean, I would love that, but I did not have the burden of wearing also chiropractor. Like I did not have to also be doctor. And I think it's such a needed voice in chiropractic, and it's such a gift that you're giving to show women that you can do it, and you don't have to become resentful to motherhood. Some people are like, it's either motherhood or my career, or it's my marriage or my career. And it's not. If it's in your soul purpose and it's in your journey, it's such a beautiful ride when you can combine all these beautiful things. Like we are made to be mothers, and it's a gift to be able to walk in that high calling, and we're made to be united and in alignment with our husband. And I think you both being in that voice in chiropractic, that's exactly what we did. That's why we started it a lot years ago. Now we don't do that anymore, but for 8 years we did that together, and it was the whisper on our heart, because we're like, in chiropractic school, it was so annoying to hear. It was so discouraging. And we wanted to also be that kind of like that little beacon of like, you can do it together.
So
spill the tea.
Here's the real talk. Someday, maybe after our 20th year, we'll get our first fight. Well, I grew up in a family that was like, if you pissed us off, like, you just go live your life. We'll go live our life, and we'll talk to you never again. Mm-hmm. Family members, or like, close friends, even, in my family and extended family. And then I met Shannon, and she has 5 sisters and 3 brothers, and she's like in a like fight with her sister in the morning time, and they're like super disagreement. Like somebody did something that was like really made somebody mad. And I was like, oh geez, And then I got home by the end of the day, and they're like having coffee together on the table, and I'm like, wait a minute.
I thought we were not talking.
They're like really mad this morning. Like I was just like, okay already, And I just learned like forgiveness and that whole thing from my wife, and like she showed that through her relationships with her family, and it just kind of changes things. Like, it's not really, a lot of things isn't that big of a deal. So I just learned how to communicate really well, and I think Shannon continues. Like, if you ever hung around us for a week, I bet you there's not a week that goes by that she doesn't say something about our marriage and like, this has got to be better. Like, we got to do this. Her love language is quality time. Unfortunately, I was hoping it was going to be like gifts or something. Because, in the last 17 years, the thing I probably had the least is quality time. What I thought, but if you're intentional with your business and you're intentional with your kids, you should be intentional with your marriage too. And so she's done such a good job of just making a priority. So if I'm like driven in this other way, she's like, hey, it's been, we need a date night, or we need this, like, this is not okay. Like, we need to prioritize this, and helping me remember to do that, because she knows it's not that I don't want to. I'm just got a lot of different things going on, and I actually desire that.
So I get frustrated with, I'll say like, hey, we've fallen off the bandwagon for date nights again. Mm-hmm. But then I get resentful of like, I want you to prioritize making the date night.
Amen.
And I'm like a little bit everyday person of like, she'll just be like, we aren't connecting, you aren't like doing enough, like you should want to do this. And I'm like, but I cleaned the kitchen for you, and I did that extra project for you, and I like made sure your coffee was warm before you went to work. Like, that was me doing like a 3-minute date night sweetness. And she's like, no, dinner.
I want that in.
and dinner. I know. Do you guys do your meeting, your like non-date night date day, like coffee date weekly?
God, we got on that for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, we set the intention to, and we started to, but then we got very busy.
Start a coffee date once a week. That's what we do, and believe me, we are like, there'll be a season where, just because travel schedule or kids' activities, we're off the rails a little bit. Like, hey, we haven't had that coffee date. We call it a coffee date. People call it a work date. But I think if you have that work date and we sit down knee to knee on a Monday morning, and we're in a really good rhythm now. So I'm like, oh, my life is so good. You're so attractive. And there's other days where I'm like, because that allows us to hash out, like, this is what's going on. This is what's going on. And then you can say like, hey, this is open up space where like, I really need let's do something spicy or fun, or get out of the, like, or I'm really needing like just those small acts. Like, I would love if he cleaned the kitchen. My gosh, that would be like so good. But he does, like, to make sure I have a warm latte in the morning. So, you know what I mean? Like, it allows those communication, and then you can, I don't know, take turns on, like, sometimes I am the one who's like, he's like, it just helps me if you put it in the schedule and then say, hey, I put it in the schedule. I saw this in our time frame. Now you have to come up with the idea and the concept. So then he'll say, okay, get dressed up, and he'll get a fun rental car, like have the chauffeur come pick us up, and he'll ring the doorbell, and the kids will go answer it, and I'm like, oh, so sweet, but
that sounds nice.
Well, now I know it's an option. I never even thought of that.
Poor Kirby Brunswick.
Yes.
Damn.
But I put it on the schedule, and I said, it's your turn to plan it, and I want, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So just communicating, it also comes down to that, and vice versa.
I am hearing a need for a at-home version of Sked.
There we go.
Yeah, right. Marriage version.
Eric's like, it's called Google. Like,
the reactivation date message. It's been 45 days since your last date.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Oh yeah, we joke about this all the time with
gosh.
my 5 sisters and their husbands. Can you imagine if your husband got an alert like, hey, there is a boutique flower bush shop on your way home. Grab the bouquet and you know what I mean, or something like that would be so encouraging.
Oh, yeah, because you could put in the frequency in which you like prefer your dates. You know, he could put the frequency in which he prefers other stuff, and we can get reminders. But then he'll get a reminder she's menstruating. Like it's probably just different things.
But then you'd get frustrated because I would reschedule our date. I'd be like, no, I'm gonna go golfing, and then I just slide the box and pick a different time.
Like reschedule.
Yes. So it's called Google Family Calendar. We have like this calendar, I have my calendar, and then we have the family calendar, and it's alerts. It's like buzzing off, and like it is crazy because they are all going in different directions, but it's important and just having fun together. Remembering like outside of all of this, outside of the businesses and the babies, we got together for a reason, and making sure there's space every single week to draw that out.
So how old is your youngest?
3.
Okay, so you guys have a long time before empty nesters. Okay.
Oh yeah.
3 to 15 there.
I did a video this morning, a Sked video, and he was in the background. I'm like, Ivan, you have to be really quiet. And halfway through the video, he starts like strumming his guitar, and I'm like, that's a 3-year-old strumming the guitar behind me.
He's gonna keep going.
How old's your other?
So our youngest is 8. So we are on 10 years from now, it's just us.
That's crazy.
And I start businesses now, like I don't even know what we're gonna do. I don't even know how many businesses we'll have.
They just keep coming.
Yeah. So what's next for you guys? Like you had the container home. Was that like a newish thing? What?
No, we did that in 20.
They don't fit in there. Why'd you even decide on a container?
They do. They all fit in there. We can sleep 8 people in that 660 square foot.
Are you Airbnb-ing it, or is it just for you? No, you guys are rich. You don't need that.
He grew up in northern Wisconsin, and his closest neighbor was 7 miles away. So he is all country. Like, give him a tractor, give him a dirt bike. So this was many years ago. He had our 4 children. We live in a beautiful neighborhood. We are the crazy ones that have 6 kids, and everybody has perfect lawns, and it's just really beautiful. And he had our 4 children riding dirt bikes, figure 8s around our landscaping trees. And I'm like, you got to take this party a little back. You got
to take your hip, roll back a little bit.
Country out of
Put
here.
the country boy back in the country.
We own 22 acres, like 4 miles down the street. And so then they were always there, and I would always be pregnant, and I never had a bathroom. So I was like, if you could just build me like a little bathroom.
There's no power, no water, no utilities.
Let's just build me a bathroom because I can't stay here and like pee in the trees all the time. So he was like, okay, let's start with a bathroom. And of course, he can never do anything small and normal and average. And now it's this beautiful container home with a wood-fired hot tub on the top, and there's built-in bunk beds for each of the kiddos. And it's like our little haven during COVID. Oh my goodness, it was such a gift because we could just go there and people, our friends and family could come, and it was just
you didn't have to worry about like getting yelled at for walking down the street without a mask.
So
Michigan was hardcore, weren't they?
Oh my goodness, it was very hardcore.
Yeah, you couldn't go anywhere.
Did you ever like get asked to close?
Ooh, we're going there, huh?
Yeah, police at our door.
So this was it. Friday, I think it was March 13th, 2020, is when we started to hear stuff's gonna happen on Monday. And that's when we kind of had to make a decision. Are we going along with it at all, or are we not going along with it at all? Like either this way or that way. And that's when we kind of were like, okay, this is for our team. I mean, like in Higher Health, like had a meeting. We're like, okay, this is where we stand on this issue. This is what we're going to do internally in the office. This is what we're not going to do. And so we never had to close. And we had the police called on us and had to deal with that and like whole bunch of stuff, but we never closed. We lost Friday 13th, 2020. We had 147 units of people that never came back from that day. 147 units, which is like, a couple or family or something.
But we grew. We had so many people that came because their light bulbs were going off of like, hang on, there's something different. There is a different way So it
was the only place you could go and like see smiling faces. You know, people would be like, "Oh my gosh, this feels like normal."
So what's next? Okay, what's next? I will tell you what's next. We have an almost 15-year-old. He's a freshman, so we think like you guys. He has 3 summers left before he's essentially gone. So we have a 13-year-old that's really into design and interior design. So we are really focused on preparing our children to walk in their soul purpose as well. So he's been he's restoring an old truck with our son because he turns 16 next year. And he's also just getting him thinking about the businesses that he wants to build. He has this really neat business idea. So he's trying to just start that dialogue and that training. And that's our vision, whether that's Airbnbs that our daughter can flip because she really loves that kind of stuff. And she's way too little now, but it's cool that we can dream with her and she can think about these things. And then our son, obviously, he has his little business idea that they're kind of preparing for. So I hope that we'll be in a place where we can stay, that we can have the freedom to help build these little mini entrepreneurs so that they are spurred and they can launch into young adulthood and not feel like they only have to go to college and they only have to do this and get a degree and go work for somebody else, that they could also walk in their soul purpose, and then build a clinic big enough so that if they're even not like me and never felt called to become a chiropractor, we would have a position in sales and marketing or finance on our clinic so that they can, we can scale and grow and have this big, we vision Higher Health to be a 100-year clinic where it's just like a legacy in our town, and it could just be multi-locations. And so as you do that, you need to have more than just chiropractors on your team. So that's going to be a cool thing. So that's kind of where we're working on now, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
Well, thank you guys so much for this fun little date night.
I know. We're like just right down the lake here. So next time we'll call you guys.
Come hang out in Grand Rapids.
We love Michigan.
Yeah. Oh man.
We've traveled a couple times, to the west side of Michigan, and it's magical. It's like you're in California. Like, looking out. It's
bring
really
the kids
beautiful.
And come on over for a business trip, and then you can just
we'll take them wake surf. Have they ever wake surf before?
No.
Oh
no,
my
I don't think I'm that coordinated, but Kirby can definitely.
I could give it a shot. I've never done it, but I'd try.
Especially if you can get on Lake Michigan, you can just wake surf as far as you could go.
I suppose you just keep going. Yeah, lakes around here, you eventually got to turn around. So
you
don't have to turn around.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. And we got to figure out a time. We'll see each other in person sometime.
Yes. Yeah, thanks for having us.
Congratulations to you guys in the podcast and all the hard work. I mean, that you guys have put in consistently over and over and over and over. It's cool to see, and you're inspiring a lot of people. So,
well, thank you.
In the work.
Thanks. All right, She Slayers. Until next week. Bye.